YouTube. So I thought I'd do something a little different today from what I've generally been doing around, various topics like the economy or language and things like that. Um, because this actually came up recently because YouTube, for whatever reason, decided to throw various clips in my feed for suggestions that were kind of random and out of the blue. But one of them was George Carlin, a George Carlin clip. And for those of you who may not know, especially if you're younger, George Carlin was a big quote unquote edgy comedian, from decades ago, who was this counterculture, counter you know counter establishment type of comedian. Very vulgar. So I will warn anybody, we will be playing George Carlin clips in this video. So this is not, child friendly. He was a very vulgar individual. But these clips came up, and being familiar with George Carlin myself and having seen, some of his stand-ups and clips in the past, and just knowing who he is, decided to watch one of them. And I thought it would be interesting, or really not that interesting, but I thought it would be, something different to do a little bit of commentary on one of his clips, just because the massive level of hypocrisy that exists with people like this is just unbelievable. And he was such a cultural icon for so many people that, sometimes it's necessary just to comment on some of this kind of stuff. But I'll tell you, this is not, this is low-hanging fruit, in my opinion. George Carlin is not someone that I pay that much attention to, or never really paid that much attention to. The whole edgy, vulgar atheist is just kind of cliche at this point. It's not really fun or intellectually stimulating to get into some of this stuff, but it is a little different, kind of breaks things up a little bit, and sometimes it's just necessary to address things because they need to be addressed, for nothing else. But we're gonna look at a clip. These first two clips are not really what we're gonna get into. I think they're kind of funny and drive the point home to an extent. This to me is actual comedy. So this first clip is a clip from, I think, a Larry King interview. But here we go.
I would defend to the death his right to do everything he does. The thing that I find...
All right.
Rights. Boy, everyone in this country's always running around yammering about their fucking rights. I have a right, you have no right, we have a right, they don't have a right. Folks, I hate to spoil your fun, but there's no such thing as rights, okay? They're imaginary. We made them up. Like the book.
Oh, let's just do that one more time. Let's do that one more time.
I would defend to the death his right to do everything he does. The thing that I find unusual, and it's not a criticism.
Oh, defend to the death his right to do it.
Rights. Boy, everyone in this country's always running around yammering about their fucking rights. I have a right, you have no right, we have a right, they don't have a right. Folks, I hate to spoil your fun, but there's no such thing as rights.
You spoiling your own fun? Is that what you're doing? Just a little, actual comedy to begin with. But those we're not really gonna, that's kind of self-explanatory. But this is the clip that actually came up, one of the clips that came up in my feed. And so if you notice on the right here, yes, I have been watching Carlin clips for recently, just because I happen to watch, or one or two of them happen to pop up in my feed. So I just kind of went through some of them. But this is the clip that I actually wanted to get into, just because, again, some of this stuff is just kind of low-hanging fruit to address, but I figured it'd be a little different to address some of it. So I'm going to let this clip go through, or I'll stop it just for copyright purposes or whatever, what have you. But this is not a long clip. We'll do the whole thing, and I'll stop it at various places to kind of discuss some things that he's bringing up. And by the way, I'm not even necessarily disagreeing with some of the points that he's bringing up. I actually do think he has some points. It's just, in the broader context, pretty hypocritical.
You can say what you want about this country, and I love this place. I love the freedoms we used to have. I love it. I love that.
Yay!
I love it when it didn't take a fucking catastrophe to get us to care for one another. I love the fact that we're on camera all the time from all angles. But you know what? You can say what you want about America. And I say I love this place. I wouldn't have it any other way. Wouldn't live in any other time in history in any other place. But say what you want about America. Land of the free, home of the brave. We got some dumb-ass motherfuckers floating around this country. Dumb-ass motherfuckers. You know? Yeah. Now, obviously, that doesn't include this audience. I understand that. You seem intelligent and perceptive, but the rest of them, holy jumping fucking shitballs. Dumber than a second coat of paint.
I mean, just how dumb is the rest of America, George? Please tell us.
This ain't just ranting and raving. This ain't just blowing off steam.
Not ranting and raving at all, man. Just not ranting and raving.
I got a little evidence to support my claim. It just seems to me, that only a really low IQ population could have taken this beautiful continent, this magnificent American landscape that we inherited. Well, actually, we stole it from the Mexicans and the Indians, but hey, it was nice when we stole it. It looked pretty good. It was pristine. Paradise. Have you seen it lately? Have you taken a good look at it lately? It's fucking embarrassing. Only a nation of unenlightened half-wits could have taken this beautiful place and turned it into what it is today, a shopping mall.
A shopping mall. I'll also point out that he used the word nation. Doesn't have any idea what that word means. I've actually reviewed nation in another video. But America has allegedly been turned into a giant shopping mall. Like all of the theaters or many of the theaters and comedy clubs and places that he's literally been to make a living. You know, the Beacon Theater in one of the biggest giant pollution-riddled locations in the United States, New York City. You mean like that, George? You know, New York City and Los Angeles and places like that where there's just concrete and just crap everywhere? Is that what you're talking about?
A big fucking shopping mall. You know that? That's all you got. That's all you've got here, folks. Mile after mile of mall after mall. Many, many malls. Major malls and mini malls. They put the mini malls in between the major malls. And in between the mini malls, they put the mini mart.
And they also put their comedy theaters and comedy clubs.
And in between the mini marts, you got the car lots, gas stations, muffler shops, laundromats, cheap hotels, fast food joints, strip clubs, and dirty bookstores. America the Beautiful, one big transcontinental commercial cesspool. And how do the people feel about all this? How do the people feel about living in a coast-to-coast shopping mall? Well, they think it's just fucking dandy. They think...
You like going to places like New York City. Oh man, it's just amazing.
It is cool as can be because Americans love the mall. They love the mall. That's where they get to satisfy their two most prominent addictions.
Addictions. Remember that. We're going to get into addictions.
At the same time, shopping and eating. Millions of semi-conscious Americans, day after day, shuffling through the malls, shopping and eating, especially eating. Americans love to eat. They are fatally attracted to the slow death of fast food. hot dogs, corn dogs, triple bacon cheeseburgers, deep fried butter dipped in pork fat and cheese whiz, mayonnaise soaked barbecued mozzarella patty melts. Americans will eat anything, anything, anything. If you were selling sauteed raccoons' assholes on a stick, Americans would buy them and eat them, especially if you dipped them in butter and put a little salsa on them.
So here's a couple of points that I wanted to address about this. About this.
Check out the new 2023 Ram 1500.
Just get over with that. Just to get in there. But there's a couple of things that I want to address, because he mentions this in some of his other stand-ups, and it may even be this particular stand-up where he gets into how fat Americans are and how gross they look at the beach with fat people and their shorts at the beach. And he gets into materialism and other stand-ups, how families or people have too many vehicles and cars, and towing an RV, towing a car, towing a boat, towing a jet ski, and too many things, because we're all consumers and things like that. Well, the interesting thing is Carlin rails against Christianity, has hammered on Christianity, Christian institutions and everything like that. So why is that important? Well, he's attacking one of the pillars of Western civilization that helped create the civilization whereby he's in New York City, surrounded by giant concrete, just in a concrete jungle, using technology that the civilization that was created from the land and the people that came here and settled to make a living, which is neither here nor there, but then rails against one of its foundational tenets, which was Christianity and the moral culture and morality of a Christian worldview, whereby Christianity openly and actively preaches against materialism. The love of money is the root of all evil. Christ himself said, "Sell all your belongings, give your things to the poor, and follow me." That's an institution that literally preaches against materialism, which is just another critique of guys like Carlin and Bill Maher and all these people who rail against something like Christianity, but then complain about when you have a void in a secular society. And we are a post-Christian secular society that is just filled with nonsense. I mean, Carlin himself would be someone who rails against a lot of the movements that have happened over the last few years. He would absolutely be railing against some of this stuff. Well, what do you think happens when you remove a foundational pillar that has standards? You may not like all of the standards, but there are standards there to prevent a clown show from happening, which is what we have today. But again, going back to one of the points, you rail against Christianity and then complain about materialism. That's ridiculous. It's just low-hanging fruit nonsense. He also gets into another thing where he's making fun of Americans for eating and being overweight and stuff like that, whereby, what is one of the 7 deadly sins? Gluttony? Things like that, where Christianity actively, teaches you not to be a glutton, not to do that sort of thing, but yet again wonders why society is failing and things like that. But that's not really what I wanted to address. Those really aren't what I wanted to address. That was just kind of just thinking about some other angles of this clip. One of the things that I really wanted to address was him criticizing other people for having addictions. George Carlin was a cocaine-addled, angry alcoholic individual who was in rehab for taking pain pills and drinking alcohol. It's really funny when people, guys like this call Christians hypocrites, and then you pull up George Carlin. Here's the Hollywood Reporter. George Carlin's daughter describes growing up with comedian. He did coke on our Hawaii vacation. I mean, you can read this, and his daughter accuses Carlin and his wife of almost coming to blows with knives and having to like physically separate them because they were so angry and drunk or whatever. And for people who are like, well, he got off cocaine and things like that. Okay, well, this is an article from today, the not today, but the news outlet Today Pop Culture from December 27, 2004. George Carlin enters a rehab center. I'm going into rehab because I used too much wine and Vicodin. Carlin, 67, whose latest book, When Will Jesus Bring the Pork Chops? It's ironic. People like this complain about other people's, or rant, or do a stand-up comedy about other people's addictions. I would argue, I would rather have, overweight people as my neighbors than angry cocaine-induced rage neighbor who's gonna just cuss at me every day off of the littlest thing. So this is just, again, this is very low hanging fruit. It's not that overly interesting. Just sometimes some of the stuff needs to be addressed because it needs to be addressed for the sake of needing to be addressed. But thought it would be a little different. Hope this was enlightening to anybody else that listened. But thanks for listening, and please hit like and subscribe.